In a grand chamber far from Earth, members of the Galactic Council gathered, their faces lined with concern. They were discussing a troubling matter, the rising power of humans on a planet called Earth. The Council had ruled the galaxy for centuries, but now they felt threatened. The humans, once thought to be weak and primitive, were showing signs of rapid advancement. High Chancellor Xandar stood at the center of the room, his voice echoing against the cold walls. "We must take this seriously. The humans have created technology we never expected. They have built weapons that can rival our own." His words sent shivers down the spines of the council members. They looked at each other, fear growing in their hearts. What if humans became a real threat? On Earth, a team of brilliant scientists worked day and night in a hidden laboratory. They had made a groundbreaking discovery, a new energy source that could power spaceships and cities. Dr. Sarah Lane, the lead scientist, was excited. "This could change everything," she exclaimed. The room buzzed with energy as her team cheered. They were on the brink of creating a new future for humanity. As they tested their new energy source, the power surged through the machines. Lights flickered and computers whirred to life. They realized that this energy could allow them to escape the confines of their planet. The idea of traveling into space filled them with hope. They could explore the universe and meet other beings, perhaps even challenge the Galactic Council. News of the scientists' success spread quickly across Earth. People everywhere began to dream of a time when they would not be alone in the universe. They believed they could become something greater than they ever imagined. Communities rallied around the scientists, supporting their work with enthusiasm. Humanity felt a spark of unity and purpose. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council held emergency meetings. They worried about the potential of the humans. "What if they decide to attack us?" asked Counselor Varys, her voice trembling. "They could become a powerful enemy." The council members exchanged worried glances, realizing that humans were no longer just a distant species. They were growing stronger every day. High Chancellor Xandar knew that action was needed. "We must send a team to Earth. We need to understand their plans and stop them before it's too late," he commanded. The council agreed, but fear hung heavy in the air. They knew that humans were unpredictable, and the thought of confronting them made them uneasy. Back on Earth, the scientists finalized their plans. They were ready to build their first spaceship powered by the new energy source. As they gathered materials and constructed the ship, the excitement was palpable. They named it the Voyager, a symbol of their ambition to explore the stars. Dr. Lane stood at the helm of the ship, looking out into the vast sky. "This is just the beginning," she whispered to herself. "We will show the galaxy what humans can do." As the ship neared completion, the news of its launch spread like wildfire. People from all over the world gathered to witness this historic moment. On the day of the launch, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Families, friends, and strangers came together, united by hope and courage. They cheered as the Voyager prepared to take flight. In the shadows of the Galactic Council, a small team was preparing for their mission to Earth. They watched the humans through their advanced technology, studying every move. The Council knew that they had to act quickly. The humans' progress could not be ignored. They had to contain this new power before it grew too strong. As the countdown began, Dr. Lane took a deep breath. She could feel the weight of the moment. "We are not just launching a ship, we are launching a new era for humanity," she declared. The crowd roared with excitement, and as the engines ignited, the Voyager soared into the sky, leaving a trail of fire behind. In that instant, a new chapter for humanity began. They had broken free from the shadows of their past. The Galactic Council, watching from afar, felt a wave of fear wash over them. They realized that the humans were no longer just a death world. They were a rising power that could change the galaxy forever. The Council knew they had to respond, but how could they stop the unstoppable? The battle for the future of the galaxy had just begun. The day had finally arrived. The Voyager, a shining testament to human ingenuity, stood ready for its maiden flight. Dr. Sarah Lane and her team were buzzing with excitement and nerves. As they climbed aboard, they felt the weight of history on their shoulders. Today was not just about flying into space. It was about proving that humans were capable of great things. With everyone settled in, Dr. Lane took her seat at the control panel. She glanced around at her crew, all wearing determined expressions. "Are we ready?" she asked, her voice steady. The crew nodded in unison, their faces lit with anticipation. She took a deep breath and pressed the ignition button. The engines roared to life, and a deep rumble filled the cabin. Dr. Lane felt a rush of adrenaline as the ship began to vibrate. Outside the windows, crowds of people watched with awe, waving and cheering as the Voyager prepared to ascend into the sky. The moment felt surreal. This was a dream turned reality. Lift off in 3, 2, 1, ignition! Dr. Lane called out, and with that, the Voyager shot into the air. The world below shrank away, and soon they were surrounded by the beautiful blue of Earth. The crew cheered, their hearts filled with joy. They had left their home behind, and the stars were now within reach. As they broke through the atmosphere, the view expanded into a breathtaking vista of stars. Dr. Lane couldn't help but smile. "Look at that! We're really here," she exclaimed, pointing out the window. The crew gazed in wonder, feeling small yet significant in the vastness of space. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was on high alert. They had received reports of the launch and were in a panic. High Chancellor Xandar paced back and forth, his brow furrowed. "We cannot let this continue. They have shown they are ready for war," he said, his voice heavy with concern. The council members whispered among themselves, unsure of what to do next. Back on the Voyager, Dr. Lane and her team were focused on their mission. They had a simple goal: to gather information about the stars and potential new worlds. The ship was equipped with the latest technology, allowing them to scan the surrounding space for resources and signs of life. As they activated the scanners, bright screens lit up with data. "Look! There's a planet nearby," shouted Kevin, one of the engineers. The crew turned to the screen, where a green and blue planet appeared. It looked lush and inviting. "Let's check it out," Dr. Lane suggested. The crew agreed, excited by the prospect of exploring a new world. They adjusted the ship's course and set off towards the planet. As they got closer, they could see swirling clouds and vast oceans. It looked like paradise. "We should land and gather samples," Dr. Lane said. The crew prepared for the descent, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. The landing was smooth, and soon they stepped out onto the alien soil. The air was fresh and filled with new scents. The ground was soft beneath their feet. They couldn't believe they were standing on another planet. "This is incredible!" one crew member exclaimed, taking in the beauty around them. As they explored, they gathered samples and recorded data. The planet was teeming with life, and everything seemed peaceful. However, the crew knew they couldn't stay long. They had to get back before the Galactic Council sent a response to their launch. Back in the council chamber, the situation was growing tense. "We need to send a ship to retrieve them and bring them back," Counselor Varys suggested, her voice firm. The council agreed, realizing that they could not let humans roam freely in space. Just as they were finalizing their plans, a warning signal went off. An unknown ship was approaching Earth, heading toward the Voyager. The council members looked at each other, their fears materializing. They had underestimated humans, and now it was too late. As the crew on the Voyager continued to explore, they had no idea that danger was approaching. Dr. Lane felt a thrill of adventure. They were making history, but they were also standing at the edge of a new war. The Galactic Council was coming, and the battle for their freedom had begun. In the vastness of space, as stars twinkled above, the humans took their first bold steps into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They were no longer just a death world. They were explorers, pioneers, and soon warriors. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not to be underestimated. Back on the Voyager, the crew was buzzing with excitement after their successful exploration of the new planet. Dr. Sarah Lane had gathered everyone on the ship's deck. The atmosphere was filled with hope and anticipation. They had accomplished something incredible, but they knew the journey was just beginning. "Listen up, everyone," Dr. Lane said, her voice firm yet encouraging. "We've discovered a new world, and we've shown that we can explore beyond Earth. But we also need to prepare for what comes next. The Galactic Council won't take kindly to our presence in space." The crew nodded, understanding the challenges they faced. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council's chamber, tension was high. High Chancellor Xandar was furious. "How dare they challenge our authority?" he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "We must respond before they get too confident." The council members looked worried, realizing that the humans were becoming a serious threat. "Send a delegation to Earth," Xandar commanded. "We must show them that we will not tolerate their rebellion." The council agreed, knowing that this was their chance to put an end to the human uprising. They began preparing a powerful fleet, determined to bring the humans back under their control. Back on the Voyager, Dr. Lane and her team were busy analyzing the data they had collected. "This information could change everything for us, Kevin," the engineer said as he reviewed the readings. "If we can harness the resources from that planet, we can build more ships and strengthen our defenses." Just then, the ship's communication system beeped. The crew looked at each other in surprise. Dr. Lane activated the screen, and a hologram of a Galactic Council representative appeared. The representative was tall and imposing with an air of authority. "Humans, you have violated our laws by leaving your planet," the representative said coldly. "You must return to Earth immediately. The Galactic Council will not allow your kind to roam freely in space." Dr. Lane felt a rush of anger. "We will not go back," she replied firmly. "We have every right to explore the universe. We are not your prisoners." The representative's expression hardened. "You will regret this decision," he warned before the hologram flickered out. The crew fell silent, tension filling the air. They knew the council would not give up easily. As the days passed, the crew prepared for the worst. They worked tirelessly to upgrade the Voyager, adding weapons and shields. Dr. Lane felt a mix of determination and fear. They were fighting for their freedom, but they also knew they were up against a powerful enemy. In the Galactic Council's chamber, the fleet was being assembled. Xander felt confident. "We will show these humans what happens when they defy us," he declared. The council members nodded, their resolve strengthening. They were ready to put an end to this uprising. As the Galactic fleet set course for Earth, Dr. Lane and her crew made their final preparations. They had to be ready for anything. "If they come for us, we need to stand our ground," she said. The crew felt a surge of bravery. They were no longer just explorers, they were warriors fighting for their future. One quiet night, as they gazed at the stars, Kevin said, "I believe in us. We can do this." The crew nodded in agreement, feeling a sense of unity and strength. They were all in this together, and they would fight for their freedom. Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared, interrupting their moment. "Incoming ships!" a crew member shouted. Dr. Lane's heart raced. "They're here!" she yelled. The crew sprang into action, taking their positions at the controls and weapons stations. The Galactic fleet appeared on the screen, a massive force ready to confront them. Dr. Lane felt a wave of determination. "This is our moment. We will not back down!" she shouted. The crew roared with approval, adrenaline pumping through their veins. As the two fleets faced each other in the vastness of space, a tense silence fell. Dr. Lane knew this battle would determine their fate. They were ready to fight for their right to exist in the galaxy, and they would not let fear control them. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity, and now they would face the consequences. The battle for freedom had begun, and the humans were prepared to prove that they were not to be taken lightly. In the depths of space, they would show the galaxy that they were more than just a death world. They were a force to be reckoned with. The tension in the control room of the Voyager was palpable. Dr. Sarah Lane stood at the command console, staring at the looming threat of the Galactic fleet on the view screen. The ships were massive and imposing, each one a symbol of the Council's power. Her heart raced, but she knew they had come too far to turn back now. "Prepare the weapons," she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The crew quickly moved into action, each member taking their positions. Kevin, the engineer, worked furiously to activate the ship's shields, while others loaded missiles into their launchers. The atmosphere was thick with determination. Outside, the Galactic fleet glinted in the light of distant stars. Dr. Lane could see the Council's flagship at the front, a colossal ship that dwarfed the Voyager. "They think they can intimidate us," she said, trying to rally her crew's spirits. "We have something they don't, the will to fight for our freedom." As the two fleets hovered in space, a voice crackled through the communication system. It was High Chancellor Xandar, his face appearing on the screen. "Humans, this is your final chance. Surrender and return to Earth. We will show mercy. Refuse and you will face the consequences." His voice was cold and commanding, echoing throughout the ship. Dr. Lane clenched her fists. "We will never surrender," she shouted back. "We are not your prisoners and we will not be intimidated." The crew cheered in response, their resolve strengthening. Suddenly, the alarms blared again. "They're launching missiles!" a crew member yelled. Dr. Lane's heart dropped as she saw bright streaks of light shooting toward them from the Galactic fleet. "Brace for impact!" she shouted. The Voyager rocked as the first missiles struck their shields, sending vibrations through the ship. The crew held on tightly, adrenaline surging through their bodies. "Increase shield power," Dr. Lane ordered. Kevin worked quickly, making adjustments to keep them safe. As the enemy continued to fire, Dr. Lane realized they needed to act fast. "Return fire! Target their engines!" she commanded. The crew responded, their fingers dancing over buttons and controls. Bright beams of energy shot out from the Voyager, striking the nearest enemy ship. It exploded in a brilliant flash, and cheers erupted in the control room. But the battle was far from over. More missiles were incoming, and the Galactic fleet pressed forward. Dr. Lane focused on the view screen, scanning for the Council flagship. "We need to take out their leader," she said, determination in her voice. "If we can hit Xandar's ship, it will shake their confidence." As the battle raged on, Dr. Lane and her crew fought fiercely, their spirits high despite the odds. They dodged enemy fire, returned shots, and worked together as a well-oiled machine. Each small victory bolstered their courage. They were no longer just explorers, they were fighting for their existence. Suddenly, one of the enemy ships got too close, firing a volley that breached their shields. "We're losing power!" Kevin shouted, panic in his voice. Dr. Lane's heart raced, but she knew they couldn't give up. "Get the emergency systems online! We can't let them take us down!" The crew scrambled to make repairs, their focus unwavering. Dr. Lane felt a surge of pride. They were facing overwhelming odds, yet they stood firm. They were united, and together they could overcome any challenge. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Lane spotted an opening. "Now, target the flagship," she ordered. The crew unleashed a powerful blast of energy toward the enemy leader's ship. The shot struck true, and the flagship shuddered under the impact. Inside the flagship, Xandar reeled from the blow. "Retreat!" he shouted, his voice laced with anger and disbelief. The Galactic fleet began to pull back, confusion spreading among the ranks. The humans had struck a blow they had not expected. As the enemy ship started to retreat, Dr. Lane felt a surge of victory. "We did it! They're pulling back!" she exclaimed, her heart racing with excitement. The crew erupted in cheers, their voices echoing throughout the ship. But deep down, Dr. Lane knew this was just the beginning. The Galactic Council would not give up easily, and they would return. They had shown their strength today, but there were more challenges ahead. They had to be ready. As the Voyager floated among the stars, the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory. They had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. They had risen against an overwhelming force, and for the first time they felt like they truly belonged in the universe. With hope and determination in their hearts, they prepared for the next battle. The fight for their freedom was far from over, and they would stand strong against whatever came their way. In the depths of space, the humans were ready to face their destiny. The stars twinkled brightly in the vastness of space as the Voyager floated in the aftermath of the fierce battle. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was electric with excitement. The crew had achieved what many thought impossible. They had fought back against the mighty Galactic Council and forced them to retreat. But even in their joy, a sense of caution lingered. They knew the Council would not stay silent for long. Dr. Sarah Lane stood on the bridge, looking out at the distant stars. Her heart swelled with pride as she recalled the courage and teamwork displayed by her crew. "We did it!" she exclaimed, turning to face them. "We stood our ground and we showed the galaxy what humanity is capable of." The crew cheered, their voices echoing in the control room. Kevin, the engineer, wiped sweat from his brow and smiled. "I can't believe we actually held them off. It feels surreal." The crew began to celebrate, sharing stories of the battle and reliving their moments of bravery. But Dr. Lane knew they had to remain vigilant. "Listen up, everyone," she said, raising her hands for silence. "We've won today, but this is just the beginning. The Galactic Council will regroup and come back stronger. We need to be ready." The mood shifted as everyone understood the gravity of her words. They had achieved a great victory, but the fight for their future was far from over. With renewed determination, Dr. Lane and her crew began making plans. They gathered around the central table, mapping out their next steps. "We need to upgrade our defenses," Kevin suggested. "If they come back with a bigger fleet, we must be prepared." The crew nodded in agreement, recognizing the importance of strengthening their ship. As they worked late into the night, the bond between them grew stronger. They shared laughter and stories, feeling a sense of unity and purpose. Dr. Lane felt grateful for each member of her crew. Together they were a family, and they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Days turned into weeks as the Voyager underwent extensive repairs and upgrades. Dr. Lane's leadership and vision inspired her crew. They were no longer just exploring, they were fighting for their freedom and survival. Every new upgrade brought hope, fueling their determination. One evening, as they finished installing the last upgrades, a sense of pride washed over the crew. They gathered on the deck, looking out at the vastness of space. "This is our home now," Dr. Lane said, her voice steady. "We belong here, and we will defend our right to explore and thrive." Just then, the communication system beeped, interrupting their moment. The crew turned to the screen. Surprised to see a familiar face, it was Captain Maris from Earth. "Dr. Lane, do you read me?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "We read you, Captain," Dr. Lane replied. "What's happening?" "We've heard about your battle with the Galactic Council," Captain Maris said. "We are organizing a coalition of human ships to support you. The Earth stands with you." The crew erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by the news. Humanity was coming together, united in their fight for freedom. "This is amazing," Kevin exclaimed. "With more ships, we can create a real force." Dr. Lane smiled, feeling a wave of hope wash over her. "We will stand together, not just as a crew, but as all of humanity. This is our moment to shine." The crew rallied around her, their excitement palpable. As they prepared for the arrival of the coalition, Dr. Lane took a moment to reflect. They had faced incredible odds and emerged victorious. But their journey was far from over. The Galactic Council would not give up easily, and they needed to be ready for anything. As the coalition ships approached, Dr. Lane felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Together they would form a united front against the Council, showing them that humanity would not be easily defeated. They were ready to face the challenges ahead, and they would do it as one. The day finally came when the coalition ships arrived. The Voyager was surrounded by a fleet of human vessels, each one a testament to the resilience and bravery of humanity. Dr. Lane felt a surge of pride as she looked around. They had formed a family, a community ready to fight for their place in the universe. As they prepared for the next battle, Dr. Lane knew one thing for certain. Hope was alive in their hearts. They had risen against an overwhelming force and had begun to carve their place in the galaxy. Together, they would stand strong against whatever challenges awaited them. In the vast expanse of space, a new chapter had begun for humanity. They were no longer just explorers, they were warriors, united in their quest for freedom and hope. And as they set their sights on the stars, they knew that together they could achieve anything.